Testing 1 2. Tomio, can you hear? There we go. We are go. Go with the live feed. Slight delay. Listening myself. I don't sound surprised that it's go, but we did have our struggles this morning, me and Master Tomio. So I've got people coming in, and Mr. Patton will be helicoptering in shortly. I don't know where he's going to land, but I'm sure they'll prepare an area for Mr. Patton, and he'll take over from there. But we'll just have people arriving, and hope you enjoy the broadcast. Yep. So ready to go? It's going to go the opposite way, remember? Yeah. But has it still got the things at the top, the battery and that? No, so they're not there. Oh, beautiful. And it's level? No, but there's no icons at the top of the screen. That's still showing, yes. I've got to go across. Is it moving? Sorry? Yeah, but look down the bottom. I've got to go across to the eye, remember? I've got to go across to the eye symbol. That was 4 more, by the way. All good? Oh. There? It's back to front, remember? That one? No, it can't be right. Sorry? Oh, I went too far? All good? Is that level, mate? Is that...
That literally hit me in the face. Hello. Were you just sitting inside? I thought that was you. And I was like, is that Jessica? And I'm like, I'm good. How are you? Couldn't even recognize it off for a second. Really? Playing?
Yeah, weirdly exciting. I haven't played much, so I don't know backhand either, so it's just like
That's right. You do it.
Yeah, exactly. But how do you guys play? Are you playing with tennis or?
Last year, I know.
No? So,
No.
yeah.
No, not that.
Okay.
We left that a while.
If you guys have a listen, we can catch up and
Yeah. Sounds good. Good luck in that.
You too, but I'm not to keep
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Round 6 WA Women's State League competition, the picturesque Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. My name is Brett Patton, calling for at CourtTalk, and alongside Astrid Canther, who's also going to be coming in and out of today's commentary. Astrid, because you are the captain of the Royal Kings Park Women's State League, and this, of course, is brought to you at Scotty's Media. Round 6 today. This is a clash between two real powerhouses, I guess. Kings Park have been a perennial finalist for many years, and winner, I might add. And Peppermint Grove, they're one of the up-and-coming teams, got some great lineups for Peppermint Grove. Two of the stars, I guess, is certainly playing today is Talia Gibson, probably the number one player in the 17 age group throughout Australia. I mean, what are you expecting again from today?
Yeah, I think the number one match will obviously be the highlight. So Chanel Connie for us and Talia Gibson for Peppermint Grove. I think, it'll be it'll be close, actually. I think it'll be quite a close tussle. Obviously, I'm going to back my teammate in and back Chanel, yeah.
Now, last time you played Peppermint Grove, was at Peppermint Grove, it was on the hard courts of Peppermint Grove under lights. Now, you put yourself up strategically to play number one against Talia Gibson. What can you tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about Talia's game and, again, why she's been so successful early in her career?
I think basically it's just she hits the ball really cleanly. It is clean contact and smooth. I don't think that there's a lot of variety there. That's probably what she needs to work on the most. But on a hard court, particularly at Peppy Grove, she can just basically stand and deliver, and she does hit it lovely and clean. So that's her game.
Certainly is, and of course she's being ably coached by the boys out there at Brixton Tennis Club. John and Tate Roberts have been doing a wonderful job, certainly with Talia Gibson. Let's go through the rankings or the lineups for today. Peppermint Grove, Talia Gibson will be playing at number one. On screen right now, we're watching Luna Jankovic. I think that's how we pronounce the name. Number 3 for Peppermint Grove is Caitlin Hindmarsh, the captain of Peppermint Grove, and of course number 4 Natasha Karmapeski. And as you've made mention, the Royal Kings Park lineup, number 1 player Chanel O'Coney, another up and coming junior, played a lot of her tennis at Alexander Park, playing for Royal Kings Park certainly over the last couple of years, but a young lady with plenty of talent. Number 2 on screen at the moment for Royal Kings Park at the far end of the screen is Nina Kadavik, good mate of yours. Number 3 is Sky Royal. Switching across to court number 2, we're actually watching Sally Partington. come up against Natasha Karma-Pesky, Sally for Kings Park at the far end of the court. And of course, you're coming in as that number 5, that pinch hitter, and probably a double specialist coming into that. So round 6, 4 teams in the women's competition. We spoke openly about this at CourtTalk, which is on 91.3 Sport FM. You'll be joining the Big D and I tomorrow morning to give a wrap of the Women's State League. How have you found the competition this year?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, the 4 teams has made things very different to usual. Obviously, this is already the second time that we're playing everybody. We've played everybody twice already, only in 6 rounds, and it has strengthened a lot of the teams. Obviously, you condense everyone down. You've usually got 6 teams of 4. You've got 24 players, but now we've got 4 teams of 4. You've only got 16. So the actual depth of each team is definitely up there. I would say that the 3s and 4s are as strong as they've ever been, but probably from a playing point of view, it's already getting a little repetitive.
Now, we did a preview of this big match for Women's State League Round 6 between Peppermint Grove and Royal Kings Park. It's got a lot of great feedback. It was on the Royal Kings Park website, of course, at Scotty's Media, and CourtTalk have been promoting this. Tell us a little bit about the players we're watching on court at the moment. Of course, we've got Sally Partington from Royal Kings Park walking closest towards the camera and to the camera. Again, she's coming up against Natasha Karma-Pesky. What can you tell us about Sally? I mean, she's been away at college for a number of years and come back and, really has started to show some of the talent that we thought she had, before she went away to college.
Yeah, she has. Yep. She's been back for a couple of years now. This is her 2nd season with us here at Kings Park. So Sally's strength would definitely be her forehand for sure. So a bit of advice that I gave her before she walked out on court was basically her off forehand is definitely her strength. But I advised her to sort of pull a few down the line very early on just to keep Natasha guessing. But then after she's hit a couple line, she's going to be hitting 95% of them off because that's her shot. So hopefully she can implement that.
Wonderful. The super words from the super coach and the captain of the Royal Kings Park Women's State League as we switch across and just concentrate on the match at hand, which is, as Maid mentioned, Natasha Karma-Pesky from Peppermint Grove furthest from the camera, competing against Royal Kings Park. It's probably glamour girl. Fair to say that Sally Partington, she's in really good condition.
She is. She's in fantastic shape. Absolutely.
That's probably got to do with the gym here at Royal Kings Park.
She does. Her shoulders, she's ripped.
Now, as we're watching her, both girls play from the back of the court. There's not a lot of forward movement. Is that something that you try to practice and try to get the girls probably doing a little bit more of throughout your Thursday afternoon practice at Royal King Park?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we are trying to do. Unfortunately, coming into the net doesn't come naturally to a lot of these girls, but on these courts in particular, very low bouncing, slicing coming in, definitely effective.
Peppermint Grove leading 1-0. Natasha Karma-Pesky holding her opening serve. Sally Partington closest to the camera. We'll probably see a lot of that, backhand to backhand wing. Both girls look to be favouring that backhand wing at the moment, as you made mention, but the strength for Sally is that big forehand, really does like to get around and turn the shoulders. What did she say about her experience at college in the US?
Yeah, I think she loved it. She was only there for 12 months. She wasn't there as long as she was planning to be there. I think a few injuries and a few other things sort of got in the way. I think a little bit her parents sort of advised her to get on with her life and see what she was actually going to do. So she came back and now I think she's 3rd-year physio student.
As we switch across to the top court, we were watching Nina Kadavik, former State League MVP of a couple of seasons ago, and she's won a couple of State League titles with Royal Kings Park, coming up against Luna Janajovic. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. What are we expecting from this match? Who would go into this match as the favourite?
You'd have to say Luna probably just, only because obviously she's playing a lot more than Nina is these days. But it's probably a 50-50 realistically. Nina's backhand is definitely her strength. I'd say it's one of the best backhands in State League. It's just ridiculously reliable. She can do everything with it. So she'll be trying to hit as many backhands as possible.
Talk a little bit about the fashions. You're a fashionista, we know that. The way you just roll into the Ferrari and park it in the 30-minute bay and park all day. You own Kings Park, roll the red carpet out. Talk about the fashions. Who's Kings Park sponsored by this year and what uniforms are we wearing?
We actually don't have any sponsors at Kings Park. It's all funded by the club, which is great. Our uniforms are Lululemon is the brand. So we're matching singlets, matching skirts, and obviously we get the embroidery with the Kings Park, the next gen, and our names. And we thought we'd go all white this year, just being obviously grass court, that sort of old traditional style, and we're pulling it off.
Oh, there's no doubt you're pulling it off. I'm sure the viewers are enjoying what's being shown out here on court. What's been made in the news on recent times, Esther? I'll be interested to get your take. And we'll talk again tomorrow morning on that CourtTalk at 8 a.m, 91.3 Sport FM. The Australian Open, there's been a lot of talk around, will that happen, won't that happen? Looked like it was going to get all the leading tournaments all to be played in a bubble in Melbourne and then back onto the Australian Open. But there's Victorian government's thrown a little bit of a spanner into the works there and decided that they're not allowing anyone to come in mid-December to quarantine. So there's been a lot of talk and chatter around exactly what's going to happen to that tournament. I mean, you're close. You got your finger on the pulse of both things. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with the Australian Summer of Tennis?
Well, I wasn't aware of that actually. That the Victorian government had done that. Is that fresh news? Is it?
A couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. As far as I was aware, they're obviously trying to create that bubble, and what they were trying to work out was how to get everybody to train and stay in the hub, a little bit like the AFL style, I guess, is what they were trying to achieve. But very different when you've got so many international players. But not only the players, you've got the coaches, the hitting partners, the physios. Boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, everything that goes with it. It's obviously going to be a challenge.
It's funny, they classify groups or a player and their entourage as a team. That's what they classify as a team. And apparently there's 5,000 teams looking to come across for the Australian Open. 2,000 teams looking to come across if it was a full Australian Open. A bit like they classified teams as one team with about 40 people in a bubble for the AFL. Tennis Australia has determined, and this Victorian government has determined, that every player and their entourage is one team. So it's quite a big, there's a lot more to manage, I guess, from that perspective than it is for an AFL footy team. Watching Sally Partington up against Natasha Karmapesky, for those tuning in. I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson too about what's happening in the women's and men's state league. It's about the 121st year of the competition, WA State League. Made mention a few times on that Scotty's broadcast that the very first men's team to win state league, or A grade as it was back there, Astrid, was the Wacker.
Was it? Okay, here's a history lesson for me.
And the history lesson, we'll talk a little bit about who's the very first winner of the Women's State League, and I'm going to tap into my Dr. Harry Phillips book on tennis very, very shortly to talk about who that first winner was. As we skip across to the number one court, we've got two courts being covered here on the Cafe Bay here at Royal Kings Park, former home of WA Tennis. WA Open was played here for many, many years. The likes of Yannick Noah and Stefan Edberg and Lou Hode, just the names that embody tennis go on and on with this great club. It's probably the most picturesque club, I would think. It's certainly in Perth, but hard to probably go past this anywhere in Australia.
I would think so. I mean, looking at the screen here, obviously with the grandstand in the background as well, and the bay down there, and the next gen building, obviously I'm pretty biased, but it does look pretty good. I think it looks great.
Watching Nina Kadavik serve, closest to the camera from Royal Kings Park. Now, with the form of Nina, she's also in her 9-to-5 job. She's a professional by day, and obviously a tennis player and super model by Saturday afternoon. So what's her career? What's her profession, and how often does she get out on court and play?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish it was 9 to 5 for her. She's a lawyer, so she's a solicitor at Mallison's, one of the big 4 firms in the city. She's in the M&A, so mergers and acquisitions area, and she would regularly be in the office well and truly by 8, and it's unusual for her to leave before probably 9:30 at night. So I probably hits maybe once every 3 weeks. So I'm not exaggerating when I say most of her warm-up is that 10-15 minutes before the match. But obviously you get to that point in life when she's obviously basically still playing for a bit of exercise and friendship with me. Yeah, well, that's great. It's always a very good reason to get out on the tennis court for anyone. I mean, exercise, we know a lot of statistics have come out recently that tennis adds the 10 years to your life. So that's not an encouragement for people to get out, pick up a tennis racket, get out to their local tennis club, become a member. Nothing is. We saw Nina Kadavik drop her opening serve down 2-love to Luna. Luna serving from the far end from Peppermint Grove. The women's game is, again, a lot of it is baseline tennis. But do you prefer, with grass, it really has traditionally been an attacking game. You can come to the net. The
because the balls bounce so low and they skid through. It's probably more of an aggressive game tactic. The girls enjoy playing on the grass because they really do play a backcourt style of game.
Well, I think obviously, I'm not sure if you got that on camera then, that is sometimes why they don't come in, because that's not a game. It just doesn't come naturally to them. They're not used to it. But I think, like I said before, on these courts, as you'll see probably how I play doubles, I will be hitting minimal ground strokes, returns, and then we'll be in. That's just I think maybe it's a bit of an age thing. As you get older, you start to keep the points a bit shorter and realise to get them shorter, you have to get in to finish it off.
Round 6 of the WA Women's State League competition at the picturesque Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. On camera, closer to the camera, Nina Kadavik, former MVP of the WA Women's State League, coming up against Peppermint Grove's Luna Jankovic. My name is Brett Patton. For at court commentary, sitting alongside Astrid Cantor, the Women's State League captain, winning State League captain on multiple occasions for Royal Kings Park. And of course, this production is being brought to you by Scotty's Media. I hope you're enjoying the coverage today. I think it's a real shot in the arm to be able to get a full day's coverage, live coverage of the Women's State League. Got great talent. But back to your point though, Astrid, when you're getting taught as a young lady, junior, and your coaches are out there, you're hitting balls, you're working on the ground strokes, you're working on the serve, do they work on an all-court game? I mean, do you get in and sort of work the volleys? And why don't girls really move forward?
Yeah, I think I guess the evidence would tell you that they don't, because that's not how the matches are played. That is how I was always taught. I grew up on the grass courts in Kalgoorlie, and they were definitely not the best grass courts. So they very rarely bounced how you expected them to bounce. So you had to get in. That was the only way to win the point. When I moved to Perth in my sort of early teenage years, I was coached by Ash Dyer, and he was very much an all-court game. That's how he played, and he adapted his style according to what surface he was on. Obviously, if you ever watched him play on grass, he'd always be in. Doubles, it's a non-negotiable. You serve volley, that's how it's done, and he definitely passed that on to me. But yeah, obviously it would appear that not all coaches think that, but whether that's because they're, obviously going sort of, if they're the European route on the clay, you don't see many people come in on the clay if that's the kind of player that they're trying to develop. Yeah,
it was funny. Rafael Nadal talks about a conversation he had with the great left-hander from Argentina, Guillermo Vilas, who undoubtedly was one of the greatest clay court players of all time. And Guillermo's advice to Rafa was, whilst on clay, the easiest motion is moving left to right. But when you move on to other surfaces, it's very hard to move front to back. So using the angles, what he was trying to get at is use the angles, bring your opponents forward so you can set up a passing shot, because very few people, want to be dragged into the net if they're feeling uncomfortable. So that's probably a tactic that we should see the girls play a little bit more of. Use the short balls, use the slide angles, and bring their opponent in, which is out of their comfort zone, and then sort of unload on their forehand and backhand passing shots. So looking forward to seeing some of the serve and volley maybe in the doubles, Astrid.
In the doubles, we'll bring it out.
Of course, you're tuning into at Scotty's Media, Royal Kings Park Tennis Club, the home of WA tennis, round 6 of the Women's State League competition. Closest to the screen, Nina Kadavik from Royal Kings Park, coming up against Luna Jankovic. It's been a real dogfight out here in the first couple of games.
Long 3 games.
On 3 games, we saw Luna open up holding her serve. Nina dropping her serve. Didn't she?
She did. I think Nina broke. Yeah.
We'll have to go to the scoreboard. I think you're right, actually. Yeah, because the scoreboard does say 1. So it's 1 game all. Lucky I've got you here as the 3rd and 4th pair of eyes, Astrid. We might skip across to watch Natasha Karmapesi come up against Sally Partington. Made mention, Sally Partington, furthest from the camera from Royal Kings Park, wearing all white. Peppermint Grove, Natasha, wearing the navy blue skirt. Black.
Navy blue?
Thank God you're here. Always consider myself a fashionista, being certainly shown the ropes here today. So what's Natasha's form like? What's her form been like throughout the Women's State League?
I'm not entirely sure, apart from obviously the last time that we played them. So she did play when we played them at Pepe on the hard courts. She played at number 4, played our Tiwa Casey, and Tiwa Casey won that match in a super. Natasha was definitely up in that particular match, but Tiwa came back and won that. I think it was 12-10 in the super, so very close one. I think she's off to college, I think.
potentially once the borders are lifted so she can do a bit more travelling. And we'll probably see a little bit of an exodus from beautiful backhand, just missing, to the backhand wing of Sally Partington. It was a great move. She's obviously tuning in here at Scotty's Media on the YouTube channel. We'll probably see a few players from teams, certainly of college age, move away, probably second part of the season, actually, because they can get back to college now. Generally what we see is a bit of an influx when kids go to college mid-year. They'll come back and play a few games over the Christmas break and then head back to the US. I mean, it's really the mainstay of young, aspiring tennis talent coming out of WA, male and female, to get away and play in a good college tennis program.
Yeah, I think it's just a great opportunity. You can continue to play tennis and get an education at the same time, and also obviously probably one of the cheapest ways to do it as well, if you can manage to get a scholarship, as opposed to obviously touring around and trying to make it on the lower level tours, ridiculously expensive. I think that's probably the main reason why a lot of people go.
And it's great that they can also get an education, and as we know, the average age of the top 100 men's and women's is growing. It's blowing out. You don't have to be a superstar like a Monica Seles or a Martina Hingis and blow onto the circuit in your late teens and dominate. Now women are sticking around. If we just look at the great Serena and Venus Williams, deep into their 30s, hanging around and playing still wonderful tennis, albeit probably Venus and Serena at the back end of their career. We had a debate on Court Talk last week about the greatest women of all time, and you know, you threw into the mix and I threw into the mix some various names. I really like the look of Steffi Graf as being probably, for me, the greatest female tennis player that's walked the face of the earth. And there's some argument around maybe the great Margaret Court, given she holds the most Grand Slams, and even Serena Williams, who's one Grand Slam behind Margaret Court. I mean, do you think Serena will equal Margaret Court's record, given that she's probably lost in the last 4 Grand Slam finals she's played? Is she a chance in the next 12 months?
Is she one more that she needs? Is that all?
One more to tie.
One more. I'm going to go yes. I think she can get one more. Yes. I don't think that the women's game is particularly strong right now, and I think that she still has it in her just to go on one more run to put those matches together, I think.
We switch across to court number 1, right in front of the cafe here at Royal Kings Park. Bit of a crowd building up here. I would suggest we'll pan the camera around later in the day. Nice, healthy crowd. So we say goodbye to Astrid, just to cheer the team up.
I'm going to go assist the team. We'll be back.
Astrid Canther, captain of the Royal Kings Park State League women's team, vying for a 3rd State League title. 4, going for 5, slowly catching up with some of the greats of the women's game. Astrid Canther leaving us for the time being. My name is Brett Patton. This production is brought to you by Scotty's Media, part of the Court Talk commentary team. You can tune into Court Talk on 91.3 Sport FM tomorrow morning. Alongside me in the studio will be Darren the Big D, Pat. It'd be great to get the Big D into the studio and talk all things tennis. Of course, Big D, former top 10 Australian player, former BP Achievers, which was the Davis Cup squad member. And some big wins over a lot of great players for many years as a Big D. So we give you a shout out, no doubt, to be tuning in. Of course, Scotty Walsh, former senior editor, tonight, is responsible for Scotty's Media. Doing a great deal of work to promote the men's and women's game in here in WA. So we switch across, watch Sally Partington closer to the camera from Royal Kings Park, serving down 4 games to 1 against Natasha Karma-Pesky, furthest from the camera.
Sorry.
Sally Partington just saying sorry. The ball bounced over. You're enjoying the coverage of Royal Kings Park Tennis Club, home of WA tennis. We made mention of the length of time that the A-grade competition has been in play here in WA, men's and women's. It's about the 121st year the WA State League has been running. In fact, it was 1899 that the men's State League competition commenced. The winning team was from the WACA. The women's competition commenced in 1903, and that was won by a team classified as WANDA, W-A-N-D-A. I think that's the West Australian Northern Districts Association, way back in 1903, and in 1904 it was won by South Perth Tennis Club. Long, rich history in the men's and women's State League, formerly the A-grade competition. Watching Sally Partington against Natasha Karma-Pesky. Natasha Karmapesky leading 4-1. Sally Partington serving closest to the camera. A little bit of work ahead of her. As made mention, the Women's State League competition first played in 1903, won by the West Australian Northern Districts Association, or WANDA. And then the next year it was won by the South Perth Tennis Club. Of course, South Perth Tennis Club would have been residing not in the location it is now, behind Penrose College in South Perth. It would have been, or Como. It would have been situated down where the zoo is in South Perth. There's that big forehand that Astrid was talking about from Sally. Really does like to get around and turn the shoulders quite square to the ball and really go after it. Fortunately, she pushed that forehand wide. My name is Brett Patton, part of the CourtTalk commentary team. This production has been brought to you by Scotty's Media. Round 6 of the Women's State League competition here at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. Hope you're enjoying today's broadcast. Beautiful conditions, a little bit of breeze coming from the top right of the corner, moving across to the left of the screen as you're watching. Terrific mover, Sally Partington, as we saw there, moving left to right across the baseline. Moves incredibly well, very light in the feet. Does tend to stay back a lot, play from the back of the court, try to use the big forehand to her advantage. Trailing 4-1 against Natasha Karmapesky from Peppermint Grove, furthest from the camera. Big backhand from Natasha Karmapesky, forcing Sally 3 or 4 metres behind the baseline, trying to retrieve that deep backhand. If you want to tune in and look at live scores, you can get onto Score Buzzer. Just put in State League into the search engine. Come up with today's results. Royal Kings Park coming up against Peppermint Grove. The second match of the day in the Women's State League is Cottesloe coming up against Hensman Park. A quick score update between Cottesloe and Hensman Park being played at Cottesloe. Lexi Weir is leading 3-0 against Kenya Vajasic. And Ella Nurchik from Hensman Park currently leads Libby Maserat 2-1. Looking forward to seeing Jessie Kelly come up in the number 1 position from Cottesloe against Nadia Rajan. That'll be played after Lexi Weir and Kenya finish their match. And of course, we've also got Xinhai Zhang and Lily Fairclough to play in that match between Cottesloe and Hensman Park. You're watching Royal Kings Park, Peppermint Grove. On screen, Sally Partington, the number 4 position for Kings Park, playing Natasha Karmapesky, serving, wearing the blue skirt, or as I was rightly corrected, the black skirt from Peppermint Grove Tennis Club. My name is Brett Patton, part of the CourtTalk commentary team at Scotty's Media. Looking forward to bringing you more coverage for the Men's and Women's State League across the 2020-21 summer season. If you've got a question, please get onto Scotty's Media on YouTube. Got something to say, want something answered, give us a comment, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Looking forward to bringing you plenty more tennis across the summer. You probably hear a little bit of a breeze coming through the microphone as you're currently watching on screen. The breeze is coming from left to right. Tasha Kamapesky serving, leading 5 games to 1 against Sally Partington as we skip across to the top court. Watch the number 2 closest to the camera, Nina Kadavik, former MVP for the Women's State League competition a few seasons ago from Royal Kings Park, dressed in all white, coming up against Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove serving. The score is 3 games to 2 in the favour of Nina Kadavik, closest to the camera. For those tennis purists who love the game of tennis, I encourage you all to go to the WA Maddie Library, look up the Tennis West book that was written by Harry C.J. Phillips, Dr. Phillips. It's a wonderful expose of everything that's happened in WA tennis since 1899. That's it there on screen. You'll find a copy at most good bookstores, and also if you can't find it at any good bookstores, some bad ones will have it as well. Of course, we're going to see this book at the Maddie Library, so get on down there. Great history. Of course, Harry Phillips from 1899 all the way through to about 1995, so it's a bit of a gap between 1995 and 2020. But up until 1995, everything is covered, almost 100% accurate. The great Dr. Harry Phillips. Again, the women's competition that you're watching today was first started back in 1903. A grade, as it was called back then. Now it's called Women's State League. Won by the West Australian Northern Districts Association in 1903. Followed up the win of the Women's State by South Perth Tennis Club, more of a known tennis club. The West Australian Northern District Association isn't a tennis club anymore. Watching Sally Partington just net that forehand. We heard Astrid Cantor early in the broadcast, captain of the Royal Kings Park State League women's team, talk about the shots that Sally likes to go to most often. Forehand is clearly a weapon. She's leading, she's down 5 games to 2 against Natasha Kamapesky, closest to the camera from Royal Kings Park, from Peppermint Grove, I should say. Struggling on serve, throwing that ball too far over her shoulder, having to lean back. Just couldn't close out with that big off forehand. It's a big western grip, does Sally Partington. Of course, that's conducive. Grass court's a little bit different. Ball comes through, skids through, doesn't bounce as high as it would on a neutral hard court. Sally down 2 games to 5 against Natasha Kamapesky. Natasha closest to the camera. Ball long, called long by Sally. score check on the top court between Luna Jankanovic and Nina Kadavik. Royal Kings Park, Nina Kadavik serving furthest from the camera, leading 5-2 in the first opening set. Backhand down the line from Luna. Luna just asking Nina how she saw the ball. Nina called the ball in. Beautiful backhand winner by Luna. Forehand error into the bottom of the net on that occasion by Luna. We heard Astrid, captain of the Women's State League from Kings Park, talk about the favourite this match. She suggests that Luna would go into this match against Nina as somewhat as a slight favourite. But certainly the scoreboard is telling a different story with Nina leading 5-2 and serving for the opening set here. My name is Brett Patton. Hope you're enjoying the coverage for Scotty's Media. Broadcasting live the women in Royal Kings Park and Peppermint Grove. Closest to the camera, Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove serving against Nina Kadavik. Down 3-5 in the opening set. We may mention that the Women's State League competition inception, the very first competition was played in 1903. Of course, that was won by the West Australian Northern Districts Association, WANDA. The second year it was won by South Perth Tennis Club, more of a traditional tennis club, still standing today, South Perth Tennis Club, albeit in Como, not in South Perth. The original South Perth Tennis Club was operated, played out of traditionally what is known as South Perth, right where the current zoo is at the moment. Backhand exchanges by both girls. Luna overplaying the backhand. And of course, the women's competition. All teams are vying for the Laurie Toole Perpetual Shield. Now, Laurie was given the name as part of the Perpetual Trophy that's given out to the winner of the Women's State League each and every year. And Laurie was a wonderful volunteer who worked for the association for many, many years. And on the back of the great work that Laurie had been doing for many years as a dedicated volunteer to the game of tennis, Walter, which is now Tennis West, decided that they would name the Women's A-grade Perpetual Shield after Laurie Toole. Of course, the Men's Perpetual Shield is named after former Managing Director of Slasner, David Blacklock. Of course, David Blacklock was quite a prominent figure in the history of WA tennis back in the 60s, being the Managing Director of Slazenger, which was a prominent sporting good retailer for many years, still is. So David Blacklock's shield for the men's recipient of the winners of the A-grade. Of course, Laurie Toole is the name of the Perpetual Shield given to the winning Women's State League team each and every year. Running forehand by Luna, just catching the top part of the net. Smart play by Nina Kadavik, just taking the angles, dipping it out to the forehand wing of Luna, making a move forward and towards the net. Very difficult to move that way, particularly on a grass where the ball is dying. Nina playing all aspects of the court, taking Luna out of her comfort zones. Again, you see on camera the unpredictability of the grass courts. Took it there. On hardcore, that ball would have sat up. Nina would have had a bit better passing shot opportunity. We saw the ball just dipping down and she had to sort of play it below the knees. Just couldn't get the ball up and over the net. Nina Kadavik furthest from the camera from Kings Park, leading 5 games to 3 against Peppermint Grove's Luna Kadavik, serving. White singlet, black skirt. Overplaying the backhand return from Nina Kadavik. Nina was leading 5 games to 2, serving for the opening set. Luna's dug in, now 5 games to 4, with an opportunity for Nina to serve out the first set again. So we switch across to court number 2. Natasha Karmapesky winning the opening set against Sally Partington, furthest from the camera in all white from Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. Big forehand, dipping down, just catching the baseline and breaking serve early. Sally Partington showing a little bit of fight at the start of the second set, losing the opening set, I should say. In the round 6 clash between Peppermint Grove and Royal Kings Park. Of course, this is a clash of the heavyweights. Royal Kings Park Tennis Club has been a perennial finalist in the Women's State League for the last 5 or 6 years. And Peppermint Grove, probably on paper, has got the best list in the competition with the likes of Talia Gibson, who's Australia's premier and #1 player girl in the under-17s, under-18s category, along with Talia Preston, who's, again, one of the higher-ranked young juniors in the under-15s category. Not playing today, Talia, I should say. Talia Gibson is. We'll look forward to seeing her on court straight after the completion of this match against Nina and Luna. Good rally. Nina just looking down at the baseline, ball catching the back end of the court. A little bit of chalk came up, of course, on grass courts. As chalk put on court, makes up the lines. So if the ball does catch any part of that line, it will kick up chalk. Generally see big puffs of smoke come up every time the ball does land on, near, around tennis court on grass. Nina Kadavik serving for this first set, leading 5 games to 4. Had led 5 games to 2. Struggling a little bit to close this first set out. And again, starting to get a little frustration. A little bit nervous early parts of this 10th game of the first set. Finds herself up 5-4, but down love 30 against Luna Jankanovic from Royal Kings Park, furthest from the camera. My name is Brett Patton, CourtTalk commentary team. Broadcast brought to you by Scotty's Media. Nina falling behind love 40. The second time she's tried to serve this set out. Leading 5 games to 2. Luna's got it back to 5 games to 4. Down love 40. Looking around, trying to compose herself. Beautiful dig by Nina Kadavik, just having to move to her right-hand side, throwing the racket head, just bringing the ball short. Luna just couldn't make the most of the short ball. 15-40, 5 games to 4. Saved 1 break point. That's Nina Kadavik. Serving for the opening set. Again, stretching deep to the backhand wing. Good rally. Great hustle from the back of the court. Nina Kadavik saves another breakpoint opportunity by Luna. Luna's looking a little bit distraught at the far end of the court, furthest from the camera, knowing she had a really good opportunity to break back, take it to 5 games all. Nina showing us her all-court game. Great movement. Very light on her feet. Moves around the court very, very well. Very fluid. Again, just composing herself, Nina, closest to the camera from Royal Kings Park. Still down a break point against Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove. First serve was a let. It's taking her time. 3 balls are given to each court to play for the 3 sets. Of course, first 2 sets, first to 6, with an advantage of 2 games. And if it goes to a third set, it's first to 10 points, super tie break. Well played. Nina Kadavik digging in, coming back from love 40 down, serving for this opening set. Just taking a little bit of extra time. Well composed at the back of the court. Of course, Luna just chastising herself furthest from the camera, knowing she had a great opportunity to break back. 3 break-back points to bring this first set to 5-all. Nina's dug in, brings it back to Juice. Leading 5 games to 4. Opening set. Really peppering the wide serve on the Juice court is Nina. Out to Luna's forehand. Obviously has identified that wing as a little bit of a weakness in Luna's game. Luna's been committing too many unforced errors in this 10th game. Opportunity to break back.
No.
The unpredictability of the grass court. Nina Kadavik had won the last 5 points in a row. Chip back and just dying mid-court. Cafe courts here at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. Round 6, Peppermint Grove versus Kings Park. Nina Kadavik serving closer to the camera, leading 5 games to 4. Juice. Opening set. Girls have been on court for about 55 minutes. Playing that backhand wide, got herself back into a really strong position, set points, has overplayed the backhand, smacking the back of the net with the racket. Of course, all matches are adjudicated by referees. As I look across, the referee just having another look at Nina, making sure that she's not overstepping the bounds of what is good etiquette on the tennis court. Of course, you can't bounce your racket, you can't throw your racket, you can't swear. If the umpire thinks that you're doing that, or seen you doing that, they'll be straight out there to chastise and give you a warning. Luna Jankanovic, break back point. Well constructed point, Nina. She gives herself a bit of a G up, a slap to the thigh, back to Juice. They get another opportunity. That was the 4th break back point that Luna's had in this game. It's a very long game, very long first set. Nina leading 5 games to 4 for Peppermint Grove. For Kings Park, closer to the camera in all white. Of course, Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove, furthest from the camera. The black skirt. As we see the Royal Kings Park State League captain, Astrid Cantor, just marching across. She was sitting on her charger, Sally Partington's court, trying to get her charger to dig in a little bit, maybe change some tactics. Beautiful dipping forehand cross-court pass by Nina. She slaps the thigh, just trying to G herself up. Another opportunity to close out this first set. She squandered the 5-2 lead. Finds herself with another set point, a second set point, after facing 4 break points in this 10th game of the opening set against Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove. And there it is, the opening set to Nina. Hard fought first set, a little over 54 minutes. Nina Kadavik from Kings Park winning 6 games to 4 in the opening set. As we see the girls change ends, they'll sit down for an obligatory 3-minute break. They can have that after the first set. In fact, both girls walking off. Looks like they're taking a comfort break. As we see Astrid Cantor strolling across alongside Caitlin Hindmarsh, who's the captain for Peppermint Grove. Both girls moving to court number 2, looking to get into the mines and help their charger, Sally Partington and Natasha Karmapeski. Love seeing this, a little bit of Davis Cup, Federation Cup style tactics out there on court. Of course, you can't do that in the normal WTA. Sitting on court, we do see the men's coach can be called down once a set in the Women's Tennis Association on the tour. They can impart a little bit of wisdom once their charger calls out for them. But this is a team sport. The captain, team manager, coach can get out on court, sit as long as they like, giving their charger a few tips. Of course, my name is Brett Patton at CourtTalk commentary team for at Scotty's production, or at Scotty's Media, putting on live broadcast for the Women's and Men's State League across the WA Summer of Tennis. Hope you're enjoying our broadcast. Of course, Scotty Walsh, the brainchild behind that Scotty's Media, doing a wonderful job presenting, former senior editor of Today Tonight. You hear me say that each and every week. Hope you're enjoying it. If you've got anything to ask, please, on Scotty's Media YouTube site, just throw us a question, as we made mention. The Women's Perpetual Shield is named after Laurie Toole. Laurie was a great volunteer for many, many years, died in the late 60s. And, of course, the Men's Shield is named after the former managing director of Slazenger, David Blacklock, again in the late 60s. The men's A-grade competition first was played 1899, the women's first state league, or A-grade as it was known back then, was played in 1903. The question has come through. Who does Astrid think is the male pin-up player in the state league? We'll throw that question to Astrid once she comes back in the commentary booth. Plenty to choose from, I can tell you. Gee whiz, some hunks out there playing the men's game. I think a couple of front runners would be Darren Slater from Royal Kings Park. I mean, tell you what, can he fit out a T-shirt? Spends all his time in the gym. The mirror muscles. No doubt about that. Dean Cochran, also another player from Kings Park, doesn't mind getting into the gym and flexing up. Plenty of great talent. Maddie Ebton, of course. We see Maddie get out on his Instagram page. Former top 40 player in the world, playing for Alexander Park Tennis Club. He doesn't mind getting the rig out. I think Jerome O'Coney would suggest that he'd throw himself into that conversation as one of the most handsome men playing the Men's State League, this competition. Hard to argue with that. Former Australian Open Cup winner. Part of the Pizzey Cup under 18 competition for the schoolboys. Of course, back in the 80s and 90s, Kurt Robinson from Raybould and Wembley, and now coaching at Kings Park, was one of the glamour players in the men's game. Rob Prowse from Scarborough. Of course, Prowsey played for many years. Did a lot of ads, Swan Gold ad, many years ago. I think he did a budget car rental ad. Mind you, it's pretty easy to get onto ads nowadays. I've done a few myself. If you don't mind asking, I'll tell you. So we're watching Natasha Karmapeski, early stage of the second set from Peppermint Grove in the black skirt, coming on the screen now, coming up against Sally Partington, who's currently leading 2-1 with an early break after dropping the first set. Starting to find her feet, starting to find a rhythm with Sally. Terrific mover around the court, Sally Partington. Spent a lot of time in the US, back here now studying physiotherapy. Needs to work on that serve. Too many unforced errors coming off the serve of Sally. Of course, best of 3 sets. First 2 sets played to 6 games with an advantage of 2. Third set, if it gets that far, is played super tiebreaker, first to 10 points. We'll give you an update from around the grounds. Of course, Cottesloe is coming up against Hensman Park in the Women's State League, round 6. Some of the updates coming out of Cottesloe at the moment. Lexi Weir's coming up against Kenza Vacevic from Hensman Park. Lexi Weir winning the opening set 6-1. And the other match being played, Libby Musserat from Cottesloe lost the opening set to Ella Nurkic from Hensman Park. 6-2, and Ella's leading at 1-0. Some of the matches to look out for from Cottesloe. Jessie Kelly is coming up, second match on. She's playing against Nadia Rajan from Hensman Park. And Zinni Zhang from Kodasai will come up against Lily Fairclough from Hensman Park at the conclusion of the first 2 matches. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. We're enjoying bringing it to you at Scotty's Media. My name is Brett Patton, part of the Court Talk commentary team. If you want to have your say, please shoot us a message. Give us a thumbs up. What would you like to talk about? Of course, a message. A question came through from one of the punters asking who Astrid, the Royal Kings Park State League women's captain, thinks is one of the pin-up boys, some of the pin-up boys from the men's state league. Of course, there might be an pin-up calendar coming soon. Men's and women trying to raise a bit of money. Not a bad idea. I'll have to put it to the vote. A bit like the firemen's calendar's taken on some great leagues over the many years, raising funds for the firefighters. We might have it at Scotty's Media men's and women's pin-up calendar for the season 2021. Interested to know our listeners who they'd nominate as some of the better-looking players in the men's game. Made mention of a few already. Got your say? Please drop us a line at Scotty's Media via YouTube. So we switch across. Nina Kadavik closest to the camera from Kings Park, just overplaying that backhand cross-court deep against Luna Jankanovic. Nina having a good look at that, just making sure the ball was long. Looked across at some of her teammates sitting courtside. They indicated the ball was long. Round 6 of the Women's State League competition, playing for the Laurie Tool Ship Perpetual Shield, awarded to the winning State League team at the end of the season. They get to keep the ship for a period of 12 months. Laurie Tool, a wonderful volunteer for the game of tennis for many years. Walter, now known as Tennis West, bestowing the honour on Laurie and naming the Perpetual A grade or State League Shield after Laurie Tool. It's engraved on the top of the shield. David Blacklock is the name given to the Perpetual Shield for the men's State League trophy. Of course, David Blacklock was the former managing director of Slasher back in the 60s. And Kadavik. Start of the second set. Closest to the camera. As we made mention, Nina, very smooth mover, very fluid around the court, moves left to right incredibly well. And she's really forcing Luna to overplay on that forehand side, making her play a volume of balls, and she's just not getting with them, Luna. Nina just forcing the error out of Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove Tennis Club. The black skirt, the white singlet. This match is being brought to you at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club, the home of WA tennis for many, many years. Picturesque surroundings up here at Kings Park. If you want to come down and watch, entry is free. Just mention that Scotty's Media at the front door and you'll get in free of charge. Of course, my name is Brett Patton. Hope you're enjoying the commentary and the pictures being brought to you today. You tune into our Court Talk tomorrow morning on 91.3 Sport FM. Darren the Big D Patton, myself, alongside Astrid Canther, Women's State League captain from Kings Park, and Jerome O'Connor, the Alexander Park Men's State League captain. Give you an update of all things happening around the world in tennis. Plenty to talk about. Australian Open. Of course, some of the untidy allegations made against Alex Zverev. We'll get to the bottom of that. Some of the results coming out of Men's and Women's State League being played today. Tune in 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Hope you enjoyed some of the lead-up coverage from at Scotty's Media, putting together some insight into both teams throughout the week. We heard Astrid Canther talk about her chances leading up to this match from Kings Park, and we heard Caitlin Hindmaster, captain of Peppermint Grove, talk about her team and her chances today in this round 6 tie. And again, we saw some smooth moving from the back of the court from Nina Kadavik, former MVP, and breaking the opening service game of Luna Jankanovic from Peppermint Grove. Nina leads 6-4, 1-love. Switch across to court number 2, watching Natasha Kamapesky from Peppermint Grove, closer to the camera in the black skirt. playing Royal Kings Park's Glamour Girl, Sally Partington. Natasha winning the opening set 6 games to 2. Sally breaking early in the second set. Currently leading 2 games to 1. "14 matches played throughout the men's season. There'll be 12 matches played throughout the women's state league season. Of course, finals will be played, semis and finals. The top 4 teams making up the competition. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. And then the final will be played at the highest seed who gets through to the final. Last couple of years we've seen the Women's State League final played at Kings Park Tennis Club. Been dominant force in the Women's State League game, and of course the men's competition. We've seen a number of finals at Dalkeith over the last few years. Hensman Park, they always figure prominently in the finals. Give you an update of the Men's State League competition in a moment's time. But as Maid mentioned, watching Royal Kings Park and Peppermint Grove battle out here in round 6 of the Women's State League competition. What's happening in the men's competition? Cottesloe are coming up against Alexander Park Tennis Club at the moment. On court, William Hahn is playing Jerome O'Connor. William Hahn won the first set 6 games to love, leading 1 game to love. Second matchup, Tim Woods coming up against Alex Downey. Tim Woods from Cottesloe winning the opening set 6 games to 2. Somewhat as a surprise start from Cottesloe. Another match being played, Hensman Park at Hensman, coming up against Dalkeith. Derek Pham playing Zach Eckstein. Derek Pham, one of the real up-and-coming juniors coming out of WA, one of the best-ranked juniors in under-16s across the country, leading 4 games to 3 against Zach Eckstein. It's a bit of a journeyman, perennial finalist, playing with Hensman Park, won a number of state league titles. I think it was 4. Scotty Webster winning the opening set against Ethan Cook. 6 games to 1. Scott Webster from Dalkeith. Reece Johnson leading 5 games to 4 against Ben Webster, brother of Scott. And Matthew Burton, son of a gun. Matthew's the son of Ashley Burton, leading 6 games to 2 against another whiz kid, Zach Viala. Matthew Burton's had a real breakout season this year. Plays some terrific tennis. Great young kid. Comes from a good lineage of tennis talent. Of course, his father, Ashley Burton, played for Hensman Park for many years, winning a state league title back in the early 90s. Other matches being played for the Men's State League. UWA coming up against Peppermint Grove. Peppermint Grove, Tim's Gray has won the first set against Jasper Patterson, 6 games to 1 on the clay at UWA. And Jasper is leading 4 games to 3. Luca Katsamanis won the first set against Ashby Farrell, 6 games to 2, leading 1 game to love. That's the match between UWA and Peppermint Grove. So we switch across to the top court. Luna Jankovic from Royal Kings Park, Peppermint Grove, I should say, the black skirt closest to the camera against Nina Kadavik. Nina winning the opening set 6 games to 4, leading 2 games to love in the second set with an early break. A little bit of breeze swirling around the cafe courts at Kings Park Tennis Club. My name is Brett Patton, part of the CourtTalk commentary team. This production is brought to you by Scotty's Media. Hope you're enjoying it. Forehand error by Nina Kadavik. Really started to falter at the end of that first set, did Nina. Was leading comfortably 5 games to 2 with 2 service breaks against Luna Jankovic. Luna dug really deep, got back on serve, almost, I should say. Was down 5 games to 4, but up love 40 on Nina's serve. Unfortunately, just couldn't close out that 10th game of the first set. Consequently, Nina served out the game and the set. Breaking quite early here. It's a big forehand down the line. Don't mind. Misjudgment by Luna. Had a play on that. Decided to leave it. Ball bouncing inside the single sideline. As you see, a little bit of breeze out there. Luna's hat flying off. The breeze is blowing into her face, lifting the visor off her head. A bit tricky out there at the moment. A bit of swirly breeze, as Maid mentioned. A little bit of encouragement there. Great rally on the second court. It was just out of camera. Sally Partington again up against Natasha Karmapesky. Good movement from the back of the court by Sally, as we made mention. Real smooth mover, fluid mover. I'll just kick across and watch that. It's an entertaining match in the fourth singles position between Sally and Natasha. Sally Partington still up a break in that second set, leading 3-2 after dropping the first set 6-2. Match is played best of 3 sets. Third set will be a super tiebreaker if it goes the distance. First up on court, women's play the number 2 singles and the number 4 singles positions, followed by the number 1 singles player and the number 3. Of course, followed by 2 doubles. Best of 6 rubbers. With 3 rubbers all. Goes down to who's won the most sets. If the sets are all equal, it goes down to who's won the most amount of games. Every set's important. Every game is important. Top court as a score update. We saw Nina Kadavik break serve again against Luna Jakanovic, leading at 6-4, 3-love. Really starting to stamp herself in this second set. And on the match is Nina Kadavik, former MVP. Played many years here at Kings Park. Currently tuned into Natasha Karmapesky from Peppermint Grove, serving against Sally Partington. Sally closest to the camera. Again, you can probably see the breeze just blowing the girls' skirts around. Has picked up somewhat in the last 25 minutes. Sally trying to return that serve well into court. Got jammed up. Nice body serve by Natasha Karmapesky. We understand Natasha will be heading on to college. Probably the start of the new year. Once the borders are lifted, players can start moving a little bit more freely around. Shout out to all those college tennis players who have been stuck in lockdown here in WA, across the country for a number of months. What has been their loss has certainly been the State League's game, with a lot of the State League teams being bolstered by a number of the college kids who would have been at college by now. Because of the lockdown, we've been able to forge stock, go deep with a couple of teams. Sally again closing in on the service line. Catching the top of the net, dropping over. The obligatory sorry. I don't think players really are all that sorry when they catch a let cord and it flows over. History of the game and the etiquette of the game would dictate that you do apologise for a shot that's mishit and drops in, or a net cord winner. Are we past that, I wonder? Are we past the fact of apologising for a mishit winner or a let cord? I'd be interested to get your feedback if you want to give us some feedback on that Scotty's media. Drop us a comment. Do you think we should be apologising for mishits and net cord winners? Sally starting to unload a little bit more on that forehand wing. Again, just asking Astrid, who's sitting courtside, the captain of the Women's State League for Kings Park, how that forehand was. Acknowledged that it was good. Big serve, Natasha swinging out wide to the forehand wing. Took the racket into the slice position to try to chip that back. Sally mistimed it, dropped into the bottom of the net. generally would change your grip when you're on the stretch. In position, Sally would hit a Western forehand, topspin forehand, 9 out of 10 times, I would imagine, because she was out of position. It changed the grip, didn't come off. Oh, beautiful big serve, Natasha Karmapeski, jammed Sally Partington. Again, Sally still leading with a break, 4 games to 3. So we skip across to the top court. Watching Nina Kadavik leading by a set and 3 games to 1 against Luna Yankanovic from Peppermint Grove. My name is Brett Patton. This broadcast brought to you by Scotty's Media. Hope you're enjoying today's coverage of the Women's Round 6 State League between Kings Park and Peppermint Grove. Of course, Kings Park wearing all white. Peppermint Grove in the black skirt with the white singlet, the black trim. Nice crowd building up here at Royal Kings Park, the cafe courts. You're tuning in, come on down. Entry is free. Kings Park, former WA home of tennis. Running forehand, just caught the top of the tape. Again, Nina just slapping the top of the fence. She got off to a flying start. In the first set, Nina Kadavik flew out to a 5-2 lead. Served for the opening set at 5-2. Got broken by Luna. And again, in the second set, she's flown out to a pretty substantial lead. Breaking early, leading 3 games to 1. After taking the first set 6 games to 4, finds herself down here behind the score count. This 5th game of the second set. That ball really just stopping on Luna. Just couldn't get around to hitting the forehand topspin. Just had to poke at it. An error by way of hitting the let court. A little bit breezy out here at Royal Kings Park, the cafe courts. You can see into the distance the grandstand that has stood there for the best part of 100 years at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. Overlooking the centre courts. Some pennant matches being played on the centre courts. Of course, the Women's State League prefer to play on these cafe courts. Used to be the old squash bay courts in front of the squash centre here at Royal Kings Park. Now it's in front of the cafe. Squash centre doesn't overlook it. Squash centre is tucked below, underneath. And the next gen change rooms. Pushing that slice backhand long. I like the fact that Luna's trying to change up her style here, throwing in a few different spin variations to Nina. Nina holding serve there, leading 4 games to love. Second set after winning the opening set 6 games to 4. Plenty of activity happening around Royal Kings Park, plenty of coaching, pennant matches, all different divisions. Big serve down the middle. Luna needs to find a few more of those if she's to dig herself out of trouble here. Down 2 breaks of serve in the second set. Girls have been on court for an hour and 17 minutes. A tight affair start this match, but Nina seems to have the upper hand midway through the second set. My name is Brett Patton, part of the CourtTalk commentary team, bringing production as part of that Scotty's Media. We're sitting courtside. I have to keep my dulcet tones down just a little bit so we're not putting off the players. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast out here today at Royal Kings Park. As made mention, come on down. Watch some of the best girls in WA tennis go about their craft. We're watching Nina Kadavik closest to the camera, former MVP of the Women's State League. Nina Yankanovic, furthest from the camera, black skirt, double fault. Seeming a little bit disillusioned with her play at the moment. Probably came into this match as a slight favourite on form. But Nina, experienced campaigner, won a number of State League titles. Certainly enjoys playing here on the cafe courts at home. A little bit of a swirly breeze out there. Tricky conditions to play in. Again, the big off forehand by Nina Kadavik, just forcing the backhand error by her opponent. Bit of a score check happening in the men's competition as we see it. Cottesloe coming up against Alexander Park at Cottesloe. Will Hart playing against Jerome O'Coney. Currently leads 6-love, 1-love. The second match on Timmy Woods from Cottesloe, winning the opening set against Alex Downey 6-2. Hensman Park coming up against Dalkeith. Scotty Webster, quick and early on the board, defeating Ethan Cook. Scott Webster from Dalkeith, winning in straight sets 6-1, 6-3 against Ethan Cook. Reece Johnson leading 5-4 against Ben Webster. Matthew Burton, son of a gun, up 6-2 against Zach Viala. Zach Exteen and Derek Pham on serve in the opening set. My name is Brett Patton. Hope you're enjoying this broadcast, brought to you by Scotty's Media. Round 6 of the Women's State League competition. Nina Kadavik from Kings Park, closest to the camera, leading a set and 4-1 against Luna Yankovic from Peppermint Grove. We skip across to the second court. Natasha Karma-Pesky and Sally Partington. Natasha winning the opening set 6-2. Sally broke early in this second set, leading by 4-3. Both girls play a very similar style of game, heavy off the forehand, very reliable backhand, both move extremely well. The difference today has been Sally and her unforced error count really starting to creep up. Loves hitting that big forehand, but it's been failing her such at this stage of this match. Certainly opening set she made too many unforced errors, just wasn't competitive. Second set she's got off to a flying start, dropping the number of unforced errors in a game, finds herself with a nose in front. It's being played on the Cafe Courts at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. Round 6 of the Women's State League competition, Kings Park and Peppermint Grove. Beautiful drop shot. Natasha Karma-Pesky just showing us all the tricks. An effective shot too on grass. Ball bounces low. Both girls staying at the back of the court, just refusing almost to come forward. Natasha just baiting Sally Partington to move forward. Top court. Luna Yakinovic, Peppermint Grove, closest to the camera. Down a set and 4-1 against Nina Kadavik, furthest from the camera in all white. Really dictating off that backhand wing, catching the line. You would have seen the chalk jump up, as we made mention. All grass courts have varying mixtures that they put on their lines. Some of the chalk is a little bit more dusty than what some other clubs use. Here in Kings Park, if you hit the ball on the line, it really does let you know it jumps up the chalk. No denying, no questioning, no arguing the fact that the ball was in. Again, Natasha and Sally Partington about to start. Serving again, Sally Partington serving at 5-4 with a break, serving to take this match to a third set. Seeing Nina Kadavik on screen serving furthest from the camera, leading 4-1 after winning the opening set 6-4. Again, another unforced error from Luna. A little bit disappointing in her form. She's not showing much frustration out there, although she's rolling the eyes somewhat. Had a pretty good season so far, Luna, from Peppermint Grove. They've been a powerhouse in the Women's State League competition this season so far. This is round 6. Kings Park, showing all the grace and class we've come to expect from her over a number of years of playing top-line tennis in the state. Having said that, does throw in a double just to prove me that she is very much human, prone to error from time to time. Still with a handy lead. If you're going to give points away, you do it when you've got a fairly significant lead, 2 breaks of serve. We might skip across to court number 2, Sally Partington, in her attempt to serve out and bring this match against Natasha Karmapesky to a 3rd set. Natasha Karmapesky winning the opening set against Sally Partington. Sally serving closest to the camera, all white, up 5 games to 4. Down love 15, serving to take this to a super tiebreaker. Throwing in a double fault when she just didn't need it. Very hard to close sets out, certainly when matches are close. Brain plays funny games. Starts to play a few tricks on players. It could be coasting, and all of a sudden, when it's their turn to close out a set, a match, the brain just starts to put a little bit of doubt. We're starting to see that with Sally. Serving for the 2nd set, down love 30. Big serve down the tee. That's what she'd expect, certainly. Give her a little bit more confidence trying to close out the 2nd set. Striding back, just getting some encouraging words from Astrid Cantor, sitting courtside. Kings Park's Women's State League captain. Sally Partington, 5-4, 15-30. Dropped the opening set. Well, there you go. A little bit of a come on from Sally. 30 all after a couple of unforced errors to start this 10th game. I'll tell a lie, she has won the opening set. My bad. 1 set all between Sally Partington and Natasha Karmapesky. Just taking a break before they get started in a super tiebreak for the 3rd set. First to 10 points as we switch across to Luna Jankovic from Peppermint Grove, closest to the camera. Nina Kadavik serving. Up 2 breaks of serve in the 2nd set after winning the opening set 6 games to 4. Catching the line, saw the chalk jump up. A little bit of a forehand slice from Nina. And again with a forehand slice, bringing her opponent in. Yeah, lovely pass down the line. Had a bit of everything, all the spins. A lot of forehand slices from Nina. And then unloading on that big Western forehand down the line. Very talented player, Nina Kadavik, as you heard Astrid top of the broadcast talk about. Doesn't get down on court and practice all that much. Of course, the team training's here on a Thursday night. Team like to train together. And then in her corporate law role is not finding as much time to get out on the practice course as potentially she would like, but very talented. Doesn't need a lot of practice time to be able to get out and play some really good tennis, and we've seen that today. Well, probably could do a little bit more practice on that 2nd serve. Again, proves me wrong, the kiss of death. When you talk someone up, they always let you down. Teddy Rice just coming up to the commentary booth here, one of the stalwarts of Kings Park's tennis club for many years. Come to watch his Kings Park Girls State League team play. You might grab Ted and have a bit of a word. Teddy Rice, come and join me. Well, Ted Rice, you're a stalwart here at Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. You've been a member here for many years. Enjoying watching the Women's State League go about their business?
Too many, and it's good to see them here on these display courts, which are in good condition this year. They've held off them for a while, but it's good to see. But the wind's a bit strong.
It is a bit strong today, you're right there, Teddy. Now, would you prefer to see the girls play on the centre courts, or do you like the cafe courts for the display purpose?
I think it's better for the cafe courts, and I think it's better probably because of the association with Next Gen. because it attracts people to the bar and to the cafe, and people can sit and have a coffee and watch some good tennis.
What people don't know about you, Teddy, is, of course, you and I had caught up for a coffee some weeks ago, and you were talking me through the history of the half-court tennis, and you were the originator of bringing the half-court tennis to WA.
Long time ago, long time ago. When was that? I think late 70s.
And you had a tournament when you first released or brought the idea of the half-court tennis to WA. You had a big tournament there at the Claremont Showgrounds with the greats of the game, Christine Dorey, Rob Casey, all being part of that competition.
That's right, and Wally Foreman was there. I'm trying to remember a few of the others. We had quite a few luminaries from the radio and TV business.
And of course, the half court, a lot of back in certainly the 70s and 80s, when it was a big deal, the half court tennis. A lot of hotels used to put half court tennis in for their patrons to come and play. What was the story behind the half court tennis? And we don't see a lot of it nowadays.
Well, it was something that we thought should take off. It was an energy absorbing ball, and it gave kids the opportunity to develop their shots correctly. The French really took it up in their mini tennis, which they made, quite big time over there. And then eventually the Brits took it on, and now you've got the hot shots. Australia came into it, 25 years later.
Everyone who's tuning in will probably remember playing in a half court. It's effectively just a condensed tennis court with the smaller rackets and, as you said, the compression balls made for the juniors so the kids can get to play the game, move around the court so that it's not a bigger area to cover. But certainly I remember as a junior playing a lot at resorts. I thought it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I can remember putting some in Geraldton when you were up there, and at Calbarry they had them. No, it was good, and it's a pity that Tennis Australia didn't support it in those days.
Every now and then you come across the half court still floating around at some of the resorts, Teddy. Your lineage here and your, I guess, association with Royal Kings Park has gone back many years. You enjoy the next gen? You enjoy the Kings Park Tennis Club?
Yeah, I think it's got tremendous potential. There's a need for quite a few improvements here, and particularly the hard courts. And I'd like to see a bay of 5 clay courts put in. I think, clay's where tennis has to be. It's so easy on the joints.
Well, you were one of the originators of getting the UWA courts up and running and prior to some of that clay courts. I mean, what's the difference between, I guess, the French, the European clay and some of the clay that we've got here in WA, particularly out of McGillivray?
Well, the courts that were originally put down at McGillivray were basically a European style court. They were very similar to the German, the Dutch, and a few of those. People don't realise that the French isn't really played on clay. They're limestone courts with very fine brick dust on the surface. I spent a lot of time with the French when we were developing the courts here, and they really took to what we had developed. But maintenance was an issue. But these days, clay courts are so much easier to put in, so much easier to keep moist, and I think that they're really the future of tennis. They have to be. Tennis was designed to be played on natural surfaces.
Is the clay different from country to country? Like, would the French clay be different to the German clay, different to the Spanish clay, the makeup, the composure of the different surfaces?
Yeah, it depends very much on the firing of the brick, and sometimes they put an additive into the clay. They use the brick or they use the tiles, and of course, in places like Spain and Italy, you see everywhere red clay roof tiles. But no, there is a difference, and there are now more modern ways of building a court.
Of course, you've been a big fan of clay courts, and I agree with you. I think certainly we need more clay in WA. There's no question about that. Mind you, Tennis Australia moving towards, they like the hard true, the green clay for kids to grow up and learn on. What's your thoughts on that? Because the green clay is completely different to the red clay court, traditional red clay in Europe.
Well, the green clay was developed originally in Canada. Now you've got, is it Hartrue, I think they call themselves, but it's a Precambrian rock that's crushed. And being a crushed rock, it needs something to hold it together. And they use gypsum, which is really carcinogenic. I played fairly recently a seniors tournament in Britain, which was the British Clay Court Championships, and people were complaining. There was quite a lot of complaint up there, and people from all over Europe went to play the British Clay Court Championships and found themselves on the green clay.
Of course, I'm talking to WA tennis stalwart Teddy Rice, member of Royal Kings Park for many, many years. You'll see Teddy come down here most days at Kings Park. You'll find hovering around the cafe. You got your own cup down here, I believe, Ted. Well, I know for a fact you have. You just hand it up, sort of like a little short black. You hand it to the cafe ladies, gentlemen, and they just fill it up and away you go.
They do look after me, but it's probably my great age that they're considering.
I think you're going very well. Now, your tennis, you used to play a lot of the World Championships and a lot of the tournaments in your age group. I mean, we don't want to give too much away. We don't like to give away too much age here, but certainly in the octogenarian stage, I think, Teddy, and you're still playing a lot of tennis?
Deep into the octogenarian. And I try and help juniors as much as I can these days with their games. I play recreational tennis 2 or 3 times a week, but that's it.
And do you think there's all these reports, Teddy, that tennis adds 10 years to the life? Do you subscribe to that thinking?
Absolutely. I'm well past 10 years past my due date.
Well, you know what? You're going very well. If I could be as moving as freely as you are, Teddy, when I'm sort of your age, I'll be doing pretty well. Bit of a score update here. We're seeing Nina Kadavik come up against Luna Jankovic. Luna closest to the camera, wearing the black skirts with the white singlet, the black trim. Nina got off to a flying start. Won the opening set, finds herself up a couple of breaks in this second set. The second court, we're watching Natasha Karmapesky closer to the camera from Peppermint Grove, playing against Sally Partington. It's 1 set all over there, and they're in a super tiebreaker, first to 10 points. The breeze is playing a little bit of havoc out there with the girls. We can certainly see the breeze blistering the girls' skirts around some of the fauna to the side of the courts. What have you loved about your experience here at Kings Park? Certainly over the years you would have seen traditionally the WA Opens being played, some of the great stars that came across playing the WA Open. I mean, who are some of the stars that you have witnessed playing here at Kings Park during those years and were a big fan of when you were coming through?
Well, we had really all the greats of tennis, Kenny Rosewall, Lou Ho, Frank Sedgman, Ken McGregor, in the old days, Jack Crawford, Adrian Quist, and then going through to the more modern days, Philip Poussis. But we had some of the greats of European tennis too. Remember Tom Ocker from the Netherlands, and of course Yannick Noah, Guy Forget, Henri Leconte, and they were great players and entertainers, a lot of them. Yannick Noah, I was particularly friendly with, and we used to take him down to the beach. He was a very keen surfer.
Is he a typical Frenchman? He just dropped the whole gear off. He doesn't realise that we're in Australia now. There's a little bit of modesty here.
He behaved himself.
Quick score update. We saw Nina Kadavik get over the top of Luna Jankovic from Peppermint Grove in straight set, 6 games to 4, 6 games to 2. So Royal Kings Park off to a flying start. I'm talking to Teddy Rice, a stalwart of WA tennis, stalwart of Royal Kings Park Tennis Club. We're watching a super tiebreaker between Sally Partington, closest to the camera in all white, coming up against Natasha Karmapesky. Natasha winning the opening set, and Sally levelling the series at 1 set apiece and deep into this super tiebreaker. First to 10 points. Sally here opening up on the big forehand. That's the wing that she likes to play a lot of, the open forehand. How have you found, do you enjoy the short singles and the doubles, Teddy, not being a full 3-setter, but being the third set being played as a super tiebreaker, first to 10 points?
I'm not a huge fan. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. And I must say, some of the competitions they've got now for the kids, where they actually have time matches, I'm dead against. It just seems to be, very much across the whole core of tennis.
Sally leaning on that forehand, catching the top of the tape. We'll give you a score update as soon as we get it, but they are deep into this third set. Super tiebreaker, first to 10 points with an advantage of 2 points. Sally a little bit frustrated with that forehand. She's particularly well, Sally, closest to the camera, dropping the opening set quite easily against Natasha Kamapesky, digging deep, getting an early break in the second set, closing out that set 6-4. Next up, after the Nina Kadavik, Luna Jankovic match, we're seeing one of the best and brightest juniors, Talia Gibson, will cut across to that match after the conclusion of Sally and Natasha. She's coming up against another up-and-coming junior in Chanel Oconee. This what to be a riveting match. We saw Chanel Oconee from Kings Park push Madison Inglis, top 100 player in the world, to 3 sets, only a matter of 3 weeks ago. And of course, Talia Gibson, really a name to be keeping an eye on, has plans to go on and play professionally. And no doubt with her ability, she'll be able to achieve some great things on the women's tour in years to come. Sally Partington, closest to the camera, against Natasha Kamapesky.
Now, Brett, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can, Teddy. Of course.
What is going to happen with the Aussie Open and the ATP Cups? I know what they're trying to do, but they're going to have a problem in Victoria with the Premier, I think.
You're right, Teddy. I think there is all sorts of discussions going on at the moment around what's going to happen with certainly with the lead-up tournaments and the Australian Open. My view is that I think sense will prevail. I think the Victorian government and the Tennis Australia need to have this event. I think there's a lot commercially riding on this with sponsors, and of course 98% of all funding throughout this sport comes from this 2 weeks of tennis in January every year. So look, I think sanity will prevail. I think some of the cases are starting to subside. I think not sure about the lead-up tournaments, Teddy, whether we'll actually have a full lead-up schedule, but certainly I think the Australian Open will go ahead. I know that Craig and Jane Hurlicker, the president, and Craig Tiley, the CEO, have been working very hard with governments and just trying to make sure that there's an A, B and C and a D alternative to get the event up and running. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of rhetoric coming out, certainly out of Europe. Players don't want to come across here, and if they have to, they don't want to do the 14-day quarantine. Certainly not get out there and practice like they did in the footy. With footy, you had a bubble. You could go out there and practice, but in tennis, the expectation is they sit in their hotel room and quarantine for 14 days, which is not going to be good for anyone. So
They can't do that. I saw that Simone made the comment that she was apparently impressed with the way they handled things at Roland Garros, and she was able to practice and play, and she said that if they handled it as well as they did at Roland Garros, she would come.
Yeah.
And I saw that comment.
Well, we hope that sanity will prevail, and we'll just give you a quick update of the match just concluded here at Royal Kings Park. We saw Sally Partington from Kings Park lose in a super tiebreaker third set, 10 points to 7 against Natasha Kamapesky, in what was a very entertaining match that went on for about an hour and 43 minutes. As you're witnessing, we made mention, Talia Gibson, closest to the camera from Peppermint Grove, up against Chanel Oconee, two of the most promising juniors, not just in the state, certainly in the nation, coming up against each other, and looking forward to this match. A lot has been written and spoken about these two young ladies, a couple of years age gap, and I think we're going to be entertained here. The crowd is slowly building. Looking forward to a bit of cheering going on out here at the cafe courts. Natasha Kamapesky just coming off. Teddy?
You've seen enough of me. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.